I've got $18 bill in my drawer.
Jess T, right here, right now on countryradio.uk.
I wear this pair of old cowboy boots. They fit better now.
This is Jess T on countryradio.uk, and today I have the lovely Cheley Tackett with me. Cheley, how are you?
I'm great, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well, thank you. Whereabouts are you right now? Are you at home?
I am at home. I'm sitting in my office in Nashville, East Nashville.
In East Nashville, excellent. Well, so the purpose we wanted to have a good chat with you is to get the listeners to hear more about you, find out more about who you are and what you do. There's lots and lots of us that know you, but I'll start off by saying that it was a friend of mine, Chris, who was watching your live, actually, and he sent it over to me. And I was like, who is this? And then I realized it was Bells and Gals, and I've actually just joined Bells and Gals, yes. So I've just joined the organisation as well. So it's really, really lovely. And I got to listen to you and I was like, hang on a minute, where have I been all my life? So, you know, really, really lovely to get to hear your music and see you and see what you do. So that's the purpose of today, is to get more people to find out about Cheley Tackett. Okay. So you're from Ohio?
Originally from Ohio, yeah.
And you're living out in Nashville right now?
I have been in Nashville for about 20 years, probably.
Yes, you moved there after you finished college, is that right?
I did. Very shortly thereafter.
Sure. And what did you study?
Well, I had an agreement with my parents that I would not study music because they knew I was going to probably go pursue that, and they wanted me to have something else in case I needed it. So I actually have a degree in secondary education. So for here, that's grades 7 through 12. And my concentrations were history, geography, and political science.
Oh, wow. So really far removed from, well, not far removed from music, but actually, you know, the sensible options, I suppose.
Yeah.
By the parents.
Yeah, I've used it a couple of times just for, you know, if I needed a side gig or something like that. I've substitute taught and that sort of thing. But for the most part, I have a degree I don't use very much.
Oh, well, there's a few of us that have those. Don't worry about it. But that's interesting. So you moved to Nashville, and what happened there for you, Cheley?
You know, it's funny. You dream your whole life of it, and then I got here and I didn't quite know what to do with myself. So I had a friend from college that moved here with me, and then she got accepted into a master's program about 6 months after being here. So she moved out, and I found myself in a big city of people, and I didn't know not one person in the entire city. And this was 20 years ago, before we all had cell phones and whatnot. So my first apartment to myself, they had messed up switching the phone lines over. So for the first 2 weeks in that apartment, I couldn't even make phone calls. I had to walk up the hill to a mall that was there. And I would use the payphone to call my parents every day to let them know I was okay.
Wow.
And you know, it took a little while to get the courage to go play out, and I was going out and listening to a lot of the writers' nights and listening to a lot of concerts and artists, because that is another perk of living in Nashville. There just is a lot of music. There's a reason they call us Music City. It's not just the music industry per se. I mean, there are so many venues here, and so many artists want to play Nashville. So we never are lacking for ways to go see music. So I started going and watching the writers' nights and listening, but I wasn't really participating in them. And I had a friend move to town. Well, I'm sorry, she came to visit me. She was living in New York. And a friend from high school, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I don't exactly know." I said, I'm nervous, and I don't know how to participate in this yet. And she said, "Well, gosh, you didn't move to Nashville to sit in your apartment, did you?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Okay, we're going to the Bluebird. When is the Bluebird open mic?" And it was a couple days from then. And I laughed because I knew the system for the Bluebird, and I knew that the Bluebird takes things by numbers for the open mic. And so generally they take 30 numbers. They very, very rarely I've never actually get through the 30 numbers. So they might make it halfway through. And then the back half are asked to come back the following Monday. And then they will find themselves in the first 15, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so I knew going in for the first night that I could still go watch and I would have another week to get my courage up. Because I knew the first night, because I knew mathematically how it worked, that I wouldn't be performing that night. And somehow the universe got a good chuckle out of me. And I was number 8 that night.
Oh, there goes the plan.
There goes the plan. And so it was trial by fire. I had to get up and play, and I did, and I got a really good reception. And the lady that ran the night was really kind to me and encouraging. And so I started playing some other writers' nights. I went then to a place called Douglas Corner. That's also a pretty historic venue in Nashville. And I played that writers' night. And those writers' nights are booked. So you wait until the very end of the night to play the open mic. And so a lot of times you're looking at 11:30, sometimes midnight before you're able to get up and sing your song.
Right.
So I hopped up and I sang my song, and the fellow running that night, his name was Ray Sisk, and he came up to me afterwards and he was like, I've never seen you before, never heard you, but you're really good. And I run this other writer's night. Why don't you come down 2 nights from now, and you won't have to wait until midnight to play. I'm going to put you on at 8 o'clock because I want people to hear you.
Yeah.
And it just kind of started from then. Those two performances gave me more courage. And so then I just started playing frequently and never stopped. And then I started, I had been playing up in Ohio, but that was a lot of cover songs and playing at restaurants. And when I first moved to Nashville, I would go up to Ohio almost every other weekend because I had standing gigs up there, but they were different than playing your own music and things you were writing. And in Nashville, for the most part, I moved here to be a singer-songwriter, so I wanted to play my music. And it's encouraged in Nashville, obviously, to play original music because there are artists here looking for original songs. So that sort of became my focus too. I started writing for other artists and for myself, and just started meeting other people. And I've never been great at networking per se, but I've been here long enough. I've just made a lot of friends and know a lot of people that do what I do, and thankfully that's all helped.
You certainly do. I mean, that's what I was going to go on to actually, Cheley. So you've collabed and sung with a lot of different artists. Who would you say? Okay, who's your favorite to collab with? Well, I don't want to break it down to one person, but do you have a select set of artists that you like to collab with? Where it flows.
There are some of us that just know each other better than others, and that actually just comes from living your life and happening to do what you do and being in Nashville, sort of. I'm very good friends with Ashley McBride, and I knew Ashley before she even moved to Nashville. In fact, somebody sent me to see her when she still lived in Arkansas. She was trying to dip a toe into playing in Nashville and getting known, and I went to see her, and we just through the years became really good friends. She actually was in my wedding, even. We're such good friends. But yeah, I love to write with Ashley. I love to write with a lot of other people. Ashley and I actually have written with Hannah Aldridge as well. And Hannah is a big part of the reason I get to tour the UK, because I didn't quite know how to dip a toe into that either. I'm independent, which means I'm entirely without a record label. Right now, I don't have management outside. I'm self-managed, self-published. I'm self-booked. I'm self-everything.
Wow.
So Hannah helped me a lot in trying to build tours over in the UK and Europe.
And you did come over to the UK. You've been over to the UK more than once, I believe.
Oh yeah, I've done several times at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how do you find it? How have you found the audiences?
I love it. I was warned.
Oh, okay.
I was warned before I went over. It's funny. I actually have been warned about the UK, and I had been warned about Germany, and it's similar and it's not. So when I first,
I want to hear it.
well, no, it's actually I think it's a compliment really to both. I was just warned that I might find the British audience to be painfully polite, to the extent that it will be almost alarmingly quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for an artist, that's really scary.
Well, it depends. I don't, for it, I have a leg in Americana and I have a leg in mainstream country music. And so if I'm pulling out some stompy, romping number and I want you clapping and stomping, yeah, that might be a little unnerving. Although I haven't found UK audiences to really lack in wanting to participate if I ask them to clap along with the song.
I'm surprised.
Right.
They love it.
But I've also found that they will, I think you're a little more lyric oriented. So like you want to hear the words. So if I'm singing a story song, if I'm singing one of my story songs or something that might lean a little more folk Americana, it's actually refreshing, really, to have an audience that is really, really listening to that. Yes.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. That's it, exactly. And you do tell stories. My personal favorites, if I'm allowed to say, I'm going to say, I've got a real thing for $2 Bill. And My Best Dress is just hauntingly glorious, actually. And I have Play the One You Like. Again, you've got that age-old storytelling, which, that's the key, I think, is that we need to hear that you get what we get, and that there's that resonance there. And so I've listened quite a bit to Buckeye, which is that was the last album, wasn't it?
That's the last studio album. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, in 2018. Absolutely, honestly, the songs on there are really you're so able to relate to them, and they just tell the stories that we understand, and that makes sense. It just makes sense. It's a wonderful album. Do you have any plans for anything else upcoming? I mean, I know that COVID has made a big difference, but I will say as well, before we go on to any more music, you just did a live. I saw you do a live gig the other night. I stayed up real late to watch you, and you're one of the first people to start doing the drive-in gig. How was that?
It was really good. It's it's different. I wanted to sort of be the guinea pig on that, I guess. Yeah. And I did it acoustic. I didn't have the full band. There's also, right now, there are certain restrictions in Nashville. So at the time, we really weren't supposed to have more than 2 people on the stage. So I had already decided to keep that just me and a side player. They're starting to expand that a little more and more. So we might get into opening that up to actually being able to have the band. But for what it is, it may stay acoustic. We're also talking about turning it into a series and inviting other artists to come perform through the summer. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you're playing to people in their cars, so talk about the response and the energy of the audience is different, obviously, because half of them are in their cars.
I know, because I threw a string.
Some honk.
Was it good?
Clap,
Oh yeah, it's that, isn't it? Because that's the thing, is we're having to adapt massively to a very different world right now. And what I keep saying to everybody is what we're all missing, from the audience perspective, is the smells and the sounds and the atmosphere, and people chatting too much behind you, and all those gripes that everyone used to get so angry about. Now nobody cares.
We'd
go for that. We'd be all right with that now, But did it feel different? That felt different, but it must have felt good to be out there.
But every gig is different anyway. So even live, every gig is totally different. You don't know who's in the audience. You don't know what songs that particular audience is going to gravitate to. The thing that is different is, obviously, anytime you're in a space where you're performing, you and the audience have an energy exchange. So I've been doing the Facebook Lives a lot, like so many other artists, and Instagram Lives, and I really enjoy those. The audience really seems to enjoy those, but the energy exchange is obviously different. It's just a different thing. Same for the drive-in. I had a lot of people. We let people come up and talk to us as long as they stayed about 10 feet away. But I had a lot of people tell us how great it was for them, because it was the first time in 2.5 months that they felt for at least a little while, they felt like the world was normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got to go out and hear live music. They haven't been able to do that in a town where we're, saturated with live music usually.
Certainly.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet. You see, we've only just started. So I've actually personally just booked the first gig with a comedian, and that's not till August. And I've never been so excited in all my life, because it's the first time out in 4 months.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. So it's lovely that you guys are starting to get moving out there, and there's scope for other ways of performing. So in terms of studios, have they started to open? Have you started to again think about what your next move is with music?
Well, luckily, and I say luckily because it means I will be working on a studio album, but I have a live album coming out that I actually recorded last August on my birthday. And I recorded it at a place I mentioned to you earlier called Douglas Corner.
Yeah.
And Douglas Corner in Nashville. So there are 2 historic songwriter venues in Nashville. One is the Bluebird and the other one is Douglas. And Douglas is different than the Bluebird in the sense that it's a much darker room. It's set up a lot more for shows. So I very often play full band at Douglas Corner. But the beauty of the room is you could do a stripped down acoustic, just you and a guitar, or you could come up and have a full band, and the room works both ways. And it's given a stage to a lot of people. Garth Brooks had his showcase for his record label there. So did Trisha Yearwood. Gibson Miller Band used to play there a whole lot. Sean Camp used to play there a whole lot. Garth had his first fan club party there. Wow. My first fan club party was supposed to be there this year, but we couldn't do it because, CMA Fest was canceled. So and the reason I'm talking so much about Douglas Corner is because they have not survived this pandemic. And they are closing as of this weekend. Permanently. Which is, for those of us, that was my home venue. I've recorded, out of all of my CDs and EPs, my very first EP, I did the release up in Ohio at a Veterans of Foreign Wars hall because my dad was a member. But after that, every album release I've ever done has been at Douglas Corner. And so it's where I cut my teeth. Ashley has played there through the years a lot with me, and for her own. We had a big birthday party for her there years ago. It's just a much beloved venue in Nashville. It's a little rowdier. It's a little darker than the Bluebird. It's dingier. There's a couch in the back that we have made so much fun of because we can't imagine. We think we're all possibly immune to COVID because we've all sat on that couch back there.
Oh, the typical musician's couch.
Yeah, I mean it's a total dive. It's a dive, but it's a beloved dive. But so my live CD was recorded there, and I officially will have the very last project to come out of Douglas Corner.
Wow.
That's my next release will be that, and it's just me and a guitar, telling stories, playing songs, and I don't know. I'm in pretty good company. Guy Clark released a live CD from there years and years ago. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's a slice of history. That's the thing. And can't replicate that. Not over the years and years where we've all, the energy that lives in that place is probably immense. So that's very sad to hear. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of venues over here as well that has been collective across internationally that have had an effect because of this. So that's why I suppose the live streams have been so imperative to people, certainly in terms of mental health, in the arts and creativity and entertainment as what has kept us going. Even and I keep saying, the personalization, the fact that we're in your living room with you. so we feel like we know you that little bit more, and
Sure.
we feel, you know, feel like you get to see, we, you know, practically all in our pajamas most of the time, so, you know, everyone's kind of seen a real side of everybody that you wouldn't necessarily see when they're on stage.
That's
you know?
very true. That's very. I've had a number of fans that have started making a little bit of fun of me because they keep seeing me show up. I have a pair of camo shorts I really apparently like. And I don't realize how often I wear them for the Facebook Lives, and they'll say, "Oh, you've got your camo shorts on again."
Wow, you know what? We just think, well, we're not going to do hair and makeup. That we're not doing that today. We're just as is, and you know, just real. And I think that's given us a lovely element of personalization for the fans, for the listeners, and for the artists as well. Because you know, when we do all meet up, it's going to be that familiarity, which is really lovely. Can I ask you? What are you missing most right now, apart from the gigs and music? I mean, just personally, I'm always interested to know what everybody's missing. Going out for dinner, you know, things like that.
You know, it's funny. For what I do, I'm actually a little more introverted. So I've actually had to. I've never been introverted per se on the stage. It's a weird thing. Like I don't mind being in front of a crowd, but I have trouble being in a crowd, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a weird. I've actually had to learn to sort of have conversations, I guess, with the fans, and now that's just a fun and happy thing. But as somebody who was just naturally shy and a little more introverted, that was something I sort of had to work on. Yeah. So interestingly enough, being quarantined is probably a little less difficult on me and my wife because we're naturally okay to lay on the couch and read a book. We're naturally not as social, probably. We don't have to have that to sort of charge us up.
yeah, absolutely.
That means that I really do miss a lot of friends. I miss hugging people. You know, when we go, even when we do, there's a couple that we quarantined with from the start that we trusted to stay safe and stay as away from everybody and everything. They even have their groceries delivered. They don't even go to the store, which for the most part we do too. We have gone out a couple of times. Nashville has always allowed curbside pickup of food, so we've been able to still try to support restaurants. They just haven't been able to seat people. So we'll order and we'll go for pickup and they'll put them in the back of the car. But I miss when I do see people, I just miss giving my friends a hug when I do see them.
It's a simple thing that we took for granted, and actually that tends to be the universal thing that everybody comes out with and says, I just want to hug my family, my friends.
Yeah.
I know. So I'm going to ask you a couple of different questions. So if you could collab with anybody, if you could sing with anybody, work with anybody, who would it be? Because I love to hear about people's influences, you know?
Oh, that's so hard.
I know it is. I'm asking you. I know. I'm asking you.
That's such a hard question. Oh man. Oof.
It's okay. It's not favoritism.
I'll tell you who I really want to write with, Lori McKenna.
Oh.
And I really want to write with Matresa Berg. God, who do I want to sing with? Man, that I haven't already. Gosh.
Well, I was going to ask you who you work best with, singing with on stage, who you've had your best performance with. So it's kind of related.
Yeah.
I got you stumped there.
Well, look, I played for years and years with what I guess we would call a collective.
Yes.
And we called ourselves Girls with Guitars. And it was all women, and essentially we played 2 shows a week, and the cast sort of rotated, but there were core members. And so I would say to you, some of those core members, a gal who's one of my very, very best friends named Lisa Carver, and you know a bunch of her songs probably. She wrote a lot for Sugarland. She's had Jewel and Dolly Parton did a duet, and that was a Lisa Carver song.
I remember the one.
Wake Up Older for Julie Roberts put out. So that's Carver, and I think I write best, and I really enjoy performing with her. She moved out to New Mexico. She got really tired of the music industry and all of some of the grossness that goes along with it. And the
yes, that's a whole other story. Yep.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. So she just was like, I'm out of here, and moved to a mountain in New Mexico. So her and our third part of that is a gal named Annie Mosier. And Annie plays a lot with some songwriters, Don Henry, who wrote Where Have You Been for Kathy Mattea, and he wrote All Kinds of Kinds for Miranda Lambert.
Yeah.
And she plays a lot with Tony Arata, who wrote The Dance. And so I would say Annie and Carver are I'm two of my favorites. Ashley, I love playing with Ashley. I've always loved playing with Ashley. I am getting to know Brandy Clark better and better, and I really enjoy writing with Brandy. I'm supposed to open some shows for her. I don't know where that all stands right now.
We're hoping that everything is simply postponed and not cancelled. That's all we want is postponed.
Well, and that's the way that all looks right now. Yeah. So we'll see and keep our fingers crossed that those dates hold. This is like way out there, but I would actually really love to sing a song with Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, wow.
He's a storyteller. I mean, I know he's a rock and roll icon, but at the end of the day, like his last few albums, there are very country elements in the way that he writes, a very Americana style things. Yes. Emmylou Harris, Mary Chapin Carpenter. I would be really interested in any sort of. I'd be interested to just sit in a room and listen to them tell stories, honestly.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And it's all about inspiration, isn't it? And they inspire you as much as you inspire them, I'm sure. Yeah. And going on to that, so what does inspire you to write? Your songs are stories. They're heartfelt. And like I say, that there's a connection that you get with your songs.
Thank you.
How do you do that, Cheley? It's a really broad question. How do you do it?
Well, I think part of it's just who I learned to write songs from, and the rooms that I was in when I was learning to write songs. The Bluebird, of course, Douglas, of course. There was another place that was called the Broken Spoke, and it's long been closed. But when I moved here, I was there almost every night until 1 or 2 in the morning, sometimes listening to it. All they did was writers' rounds.
Right.
And so the songs that were very well received were story songs. I just think the songs that have always sort of caught my attention are story songs. And those are the songs to me that make a lot of sense for country music, because that's what we derived from. We came from, the English and Irish folk traditions. And then we had, the American blues as sort of a cornerstone too. So you mix that all together, and story songs belong in country music.
I think country music is one of the base genres, to be honest, of everything. And again, there's the age-old question, what is country music? We won't quite go there. However, it branches off, as I always say, to you got blues, the elements of Memphis and different.
Yeah.
Like I say, the different genres that actually merge into country. I think you still have that. You have that Americana element, absolutely. But there's a little bit of classic, and in some of your songs, there's almost that new Americana element too. Yeah. So you verge across different elements of the genre too.
Well, and I've always said there are people have made. There's a contingent of country music that everybody is really eager to make fun of, except that, of course, they sell gazillions of records and draw gazillions of fans to their concerts. And I'm not going to name names, but they're not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Some of them I can see the draw. Some of those songs are catchy as all get out. And I get caught because I'll just be like, gosh, I just think, the bar wasn't very high on that song, and then it goes to number 1, and I just have to sort of be like, well, that's not my thing. I've never been a purist, so I can't say, oh, you can't have a rap beat underlying your country song. Even though that's just not what I gravitate to, I have a tendency to throw a little rock and roll in my songs.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy Jason Isbell's music, and what I love so much about him, he can throw a story song in there, but he'll put it right up against a straight rock song. Yeah. Some of his songs are just, they're rock and roll, and that's it. So I love that Americana is sort of a big enough tent for that to happen under.
It's like an umbrella, isn't it? A large umbrella, and yeah. So in terms of your music, what's your favorite song to perform? Again, narrowing it down. I'm really firing them out today. Yeah, because it depends what mood you're in and what kind of gig you're, the atmosphere of the gig and everything else. But what do you find perhaps you get the most out of and the audience get the most out of?
It varies. It varies by the show. It varies. And also, you got to think. So almost all, I think the only song I've ever recorded that I at least was not a co-writer on was Ohio, was the Neil Young song. And that's because it fit that album so uniquely. I'm a graduate of Kent State, and that song is about the shootings that happened there in 1970. And so it fits so well with the album that I was recording, given that we wanted to make sure the arrangement was unique to me. But that's the only song I've ever done that wasn't a baby of mine.
Right.
So it's hard to say, okay, I love this baby more than this baby.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think there are nights when there's a song I have called Magic Still Happens.
Yes.
And there are nights when I can see that hits the audience in a really profound way. I have a song called Up Here that's on an older album of mine, a much older song. That is the song I get the most communication about. And so I know to the extent that I've actually, even though I've been playing that song for 17 years probably, I keep a lyric prompt on stage for some of those songs, because there are songs that hit the audience in such an emotional way that I want to make sure I don't stumble on the lyrics for those songs, even though I know the song inside and out. There are songs that it's not that, it's not about me or my ego or performing or messing up on stage.
No.
There are songs that, I have a song called Fried Chicken, and it's a lot.
I know.
It's salty, but if I mess Fried Chicken up, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. That's right.
Yeah, if I mess up Here Up, though, I'm messing up a moment for somebody that matters, and so I'm very aware of that, and I'm very cautious about that. So, My Best Dress, I really enjoy, especially when I have the luxury of having a fiddle on stage to do that song with me.
That song is just beautiful.
But I love the songs I get to stomp around with and have a lot of fun and swing around to. So I love the different songs for different reasons, I guess,
Absolutely. I just find it fascinating because I've never heard anyone say that. That's a really interesting concept, is that I guess you could get lost in the moment with the audience. And so you want to be sure that you're keeping that real and right for them. I'm really intrigued by that, especially as a singer myself. I think that's really interesting to hear that. So thank you for saying that. That's so lovely for the fans, because that goes to show how much it means to you. The fans, how do you find them? How do you find your fans?
Please tell me. You tell me.
They're certainly loyal.
Do you have any insider suggestions? I'm open.
I'm one of them. So I found on your live streams they're fiercely loyal. You have them from all over. They talk to you like they know you. They talk to you like you're one of their best friends. And that's a really lovely thing about you, Cheley, that I've noticed as well, is that there is that real feeling that they get to connect with you. Again, I say on the live streams like this, but you've been performing for a long time, so you've built up a fan base over a long period of time. Yeah. And they are so receptive to you, and they're so comfortable. And again, so I find that really interesting, as an artist, that you have that very comfortable reception that you put across to your fans, and to all of us who listen to you.
I think there are a bunch of different things that sort of play into that. I really don't try to be anything other than who I am. I've been openly gay in country music for 20 years now. Which, that is its own story and its own thing. And I don't, some people say, is that why you haven't signed a publishing deal? Is that why you haven't signed a record deal? And I never know the answer to that.
Sure.
Nobody certainly has ever been blatant about it, but you never, if it's a subtle thing, I'll never know the answer to that.
Sure.
But I also decided a long time ago, when we take the stage, all of us, anybody that hops up on the stage is a little bit of a bigger version of who they are, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I've heard Beyonce even uses like an alternate name. She calls herself Sasha Fierce when she takes the stage.
A persona, an alter ego.
Kind of, but it's still part of her. So I think we all do that, but I don't know. I've been told that my music is earthy, that I'm earthy. And I don't know that that's anything that's just is. As far as the fans go, I find them any way I can, whether, right now, mostly we're stuck with the internet, but I do Facebook Lives. For me, I'll do them through anybody that offers to let me do it on their page. That's the best way to find new fans. I've opened a lot of shows. I opened shows last year for Ashley over in Europe, and I gained a lot of European fans from that because I played to a much bigger audience than I would typically play as an independent artist. But that has certainly helped build a loyal fan base. I think too, I'm finding that me and Ashley, Brandy Clark, Aaron Enderlin, Terry Clark, and then there are some others, Farron Rachel's, Nicolette Hayford. There's just a lot of crossover in some of those fans. So there are things. Erin is such a traditional sounding artist, but she also, I think it might be the story aspect of what we present, maybe, but I have a lot of crossover fans with a fella named Noah Smith from Ohio, and there's just something they've found in our music that connects, and so that's a great way to sort of meet new fans. Is through other artists that I co-bill with or that I open for. The ones that I have, you mentioned how loyal they are. That has been amazing for me, especially in the quarantine when I'm not going out and playing live shows because they've kept the ship afloat, I have always sort of taken the less is more in some ways. I don't have to play arenas and I don't have to play stadiums. I don't even have to play big rooms, but I got to play to people that really want to be there and really want to hear the songs and the music. Those are the people that I'm interested in having as fans. I don't need 100,000 people who just sort of know who I am, sort of know the song. I'd rather have somebody know the lyrics inside and out and be with me for the next 20 years,
Absolutely. Yeah. And you certainly gained more fans in the UK, and we're hoping to big that up even more so because it's all about exposure as much as possible. And I like I said, I stumbled across you through a friend, and I'm like, thank you. Why didn't I know about this sooner? So that's what's beautiful about it as well, is word of mouth, and and where that leads, where that snowballs,
And I will tell you, it's very generous of Bells and Gals. And over there, I work a lot with another group called Think Country.
Yeah.
And they have both been really, really generous with their platforms to artists. Bells and Gals, obviously, pretty much all females, which is really needed in country music. And we're getting there little by little. The women are starting to chart more and more. And it shouldn't even be something we have to even make note of.
That's absolutely.
That, that helps a lot with artists that aren't as known or that tend to fly under the radar. That's how you found my music. Bells and Gals was kind and generous enough to let me play a show on their site.
Absolutely, and it went down an absolute storm. Seriously, there are people talking about you all over the place and
Oh wow.
recognizing. Yeah, they really are. They really are, and realizing, you know, especially the things that you advocate as well. You know, being openly gay, being a woman, all of these things at the moment, especially, are very at the forefront, very much at the forefront of people's topics of conversation. And certainly in country, you know, there has been an evident deficit in women. So, you know, and, you know, it's lovely to see that rise now and change, and it needs to continue to do so, definitely. But it's, you know, it's an absolute pleasure to have you, you know, on our radar a little bit more now. So, you know, hoping that you come over. So we will be looking forward to new music from you. So we have the new album. When is that due out, Cheley?
I don't, well, so
Yeah.
it
I know,
should have been out.
when is
Well,
anything?
yeah, things, you know, we're all going with the flow right now. It was supposed to have been out by now, but with Douglas Corner, because the owner of the venue is actually engineering the project.
Oh wow! Okay,
Right. So we have to get through. We have to let him essentially close down, and it. I will have my copy of it, I think, you know, within this coming month, and then when we release it, I'm not sure, but it should be in the next few months.
Oh well, I can't wait to hear it. I certainly can't wait to hear it. And you know, and actually, what you're doing there is providing a lasting memory, the last memory, which is actually quite an honor, a terrible shame in terms of the circumstances, but an incredible honor that you get to carry that little piece of history in an album. Yeah. So I really look forward to hearing it. And anyway, so I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Cheley. I can't wait to hear more of your music and finally get to see you over on these shores sometime real soon.
Thanks, Jess. I really appreciate it. And like I said, you know, it's the generosity of you all letting me sort of be on your platform to gain new fans. So it means a lot to me. I really appreciate you taking the time to do the interview.
Absolutely. It's been lovely to meet you. So we'll take care and we will see you again real soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Cheley.
Bye.
Hi guys, it's Jess T on countryradio.uk. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and know that there will be plenty more music videos, live exclusives and performances from country music artists across the UK and beyond.